it's time to review for your test on water, wind, ice, and gravity, erosion, and deposition. Your test is going to be on Schoology tomorrow, and it's going to be great because you're going to be so prepared, and you get to use this handy-dandy review sheet. So if you did not get one from the Take One basket, send somebody in your group to go get one for everybody, and you probably want your Science Fusion book if you don't already have it. All right, so remember, you can bring this to the test tomorrow and use it during the test. So don't lose it. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin on this way. So I was trying to figure out how to make the most succinct review sheet for you because there's a lot of stuff that we have covered, and this is what I came up with. You may or may not like it. We can talk about it when I come back. You can email me too. So these are words that I think are important for you to understand. And to show you that I think they are important, I listed them. Boring, I know, but it's a starting point. I'm going to highlight the words that I think are absolutely essential to understand. So, I think all of them are, but if we had to break it down, you need to be comfortable with the word gradient. You're going to see that word tomorrow. You're going to see the word velocity. You are going to see the word delta and erosion and deposition. Those are 5 words I really need you to be super comfortable with. Okay? Next. Constructive and destructive processes. We're going to make a connection in just a moment. Now, there are several words down here that you might want to review as well. And if you're not familiar what it is, look it up in Science Fusion and make yourself a note on this paper. You can write all over this. You can, remember, use this during your test tomorrow. So you don't have to just stick it to what I gave you to fill in. You can write any other notes that you want. Okay, so you are going to take some time, pause the video, and go work on some of these. I'm going to talk about them for a little bit, and then you're going to go fill them in. I am not going to be giving you all the answers because that's your work. Alrighty, so, and all the answers are in Science Fusion. You just have to go find them. Oh, besides, Susan, you're going to make us work? Yes, because I love you. Alright, so here we go. Gradient. What's a gradient? If you said slope, you are right. So go ahead and write that in. So gradient, it's slope, okay? Now over here where it says image, you can put an image in. You can make a steep slope. You can make a gentle slope. So that's it. You don't have to fill in everything, but that's a really important word that you need to know, okay? Okay. So, moving on. What about velocity? When you hear the word velocity, what does it mean? If you said speed, let's go with it. So now we're going to use that for velocity. Velocity really involves direction too, but we're not going to worry about that. So velocity, think speed. Velocity of water, it's always going to be flowing downhill because of gravity. Okay. So velocity is going to be in speed. Okay. You don't have to put an image. That's just like if it helps you, then put an image. Some of us are more visual than others. So maybe you can make a note to yourself and you can say when the gradient is steep or a higher gradient, the velocity will be greater, which means the water, the sand, the ice, the rocks are going to move faster when you have a higher gradient or a steeper slope. Write that down. On the opposite side, if you have a low gradient, a gentle gradient, velocity will be slow, okay, or it will be decreased. Now that's important when we're talking about sediment and how much energy there is to move sediment. So when you have a steep gradient, you have lots and lots of energy. so you can carry lots and lots of stuff. But then when the water or the wind slows down, you don't have as much energy, and that stuff is going to settle out and get dropped off, and we call that deposition. Okay, that was a lot of information, but let's just break it down. Velocity, speed. Gradient, slope. High slope, high velocity. Low slope, low velocity. Talk it over with a neighbor. Moving on, a delta, okay? It is a landform at the mouth of a river made by erosion or deposition. Mainly deposition. Okay? Mainly deposition, because water is flowing down the river, and then water hits a big body of water, an ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, a lake, etc. And that water that was moving really, really fast hits something really big, and it slows down. Velocity decreases. And when velocity decreases, what happens to all the sediment in the water? It drops out, and you get some sort of depositional landform. In this case, do remember that deltas are landforms at the mouth of a river, and they're made by deposition. When the river water slows down, once it hits the big body of water, and sediment falls out. You are going to see some pictures of deposition on the other side. Go ahead and you can draw yourself a picture here too. Okay, this is my river, in case you're like, what is that, Ms. Heights? It's my river. Okay, and then this is going to be my ocean. And what happens is sediment gets dropped off once that water slows down, when it hits that big body of water like the ocean. So this is going to be my delta, and it's formed by erosion or deposition? Deposition. Alrighty, so I'm going to highlight my delta. I'm going to highlight deposition so I can make those word connections. Oops, there we go. Okay, erosion and deposition. The sub was supposed to give you back your Glacier Lab, and you have your definitions on there. So erosion is the transport or the moving of materials. Go ahead and write it down. And deposition is the dropping off of those materials in a new location. So pause and write those two definitions down. Erosion is the movement or transportation. Deposition is the dropping off of those materials. Okay. All right. So creep, landslide, mudflow, and dune. These are going to be gravity or wind. I would look that up and determine which one it is. So let's fill it in real quick. How about creep? Is that caused by gravity, wind, water, or ice? If you said gravity, you're right. So maybe I'm going to put that in as a reminder. You may add some other stuff. Landslides, also caused by gravity. What about mud flows? Gravity. Okay, what is the biggest factor making sand dunes? Remember, we did this really fun virtual lab about this? If you said wind, you're right. Okay. Wind erosion and deposition. Okay. So gravity, erosion, and deposition, erosion and deposition, erosion and deposition. So E and D, erosion and deposition. I'm making myself some notes. You can write it out if you need to. So you guys can draw yourself some pictures from the book to help you remember that. All right, let's go down here. Constructive and destructive processes. Construct, to construct. What do you need to remember? Construct means to build. Okay? Destruct, to destroy, to remove. Okay, pause the video and I want you to write the words where you think they belong. Which one, where should you write erosion? Where should you write deposition? We did this on a Big Venn diagram last week if you were here. If not, this is where you're going to get that information. So pause, come on back. Which one's erosion, which one's deposition? Okay, you're back. Did you pause? Doesn't matter. All right, build. Which process builds? If you said deposition, you are correct. Destroy, remove. That's going to be erosion. Okay. So that's a pretty good start. I would like you to go back through the book and add a few things that you find helpful. Other examples, other definitions. Definitely look up these words if you need to review how they are made, what they are. Definitely know how those are made. Are they primarily erosion or deposition? And what makes them? Okay. A valley. V-shaped, a river. U-shaped, a glacier. Creek, it's gravity. Moraine, glaciers. Sea stack, sea cave, sea arch. That is going to be primarily wave action and some wind. What does vegetation or plants do to erosion? How does that affect it? We talked about that in our lab. All right, so a lot of information here. You can put whatever you want on here and use it during the quiz. Okay. So let's go to the back. Your back. I have it on a separate piece of paper. Okay, I know you're probably getting tired of listening to me. I promise I will be done in a moment. So the back has blank space for you to fill in anything you want. I put some important pictures in there that I want to label with you because these will help you on your test. So, erosion and deposition by water is on the left-hand side. These are the page numbers that you will look through to find any other information that you think is important to add. Erosion and deposition by wind, ice, and gravity, those are the pages that you're going to find information regarding those topics. You will write anything you think is important here and to add that you can use on the test. So I'm going to go over a couple of things and then we're going to be done. And you will finish the rest of this class and tonight working on this. Okay, so what we're looking at here, anybody want to guess what we're looking at? These are two satellite pictures. This is 1984. This is 2014. What are we looking at? Let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, you are looking actually at a river flowing into the Gulf of Mexico. This happens to be the Mississippi River. In 1984, if you look right here, it just looks like water because it was. Look at this change. Look at this area. In 2014, what has changed? If you said a delta has formed, land has been created, you're right. So satellite pictures can help us track changes on the surface of the earth, and this is one of them. So what process made this change? Yes, it was erosion, but how are deltas formed? If you said deposition, you are right. So you can add a couple notes to yourself. This is how I would use it, and you may find your own way. I'm going to just demonstrate what I would do. Delta formed due to deposition. Okay? That's what I'm going to do there. If you want to add some more stuff, go for it. So that river water slowed down when it hit that ocean and sediment started dropping out. So this also indicates that there was more erosion between 1984 to 2014 for this deposition to occur. So what's happening there? That's another story. What's happening upstream? Those are the things that we want to know as scientists to figure out what's going on. Because that's a lot of land that was formed. So delta is the landform, and they are formed by deposition, when water slows down, loses energy, and sediment settles out. All right, there's many other things you can write in there. Let's move on, though. This right here, I'm going to label sea cave is number 1, sea arch is number 2, and sea stack is number 3. What you have here are these beautiful formations that you don't see in Ohio, and they're formed. This is an example of classic water erosion. You see these on coastal areas, maybe in Iceland or California, and other places around the world. And what happens here is we have some weathering, but we also have erosion. So I'm going to say weathering and erosion created these landforms. And the reason why I numbered them 1, 2, 3 is because number 1, there's like cracks in what we call the headlands, the parts of the rocks that go out into the ocean, and the waves wear them down. And then the waves will get into those cracks and take away material and create a sea cave. That's what you see for number 1. Well, that sea cave eventually gets eroded away even more and turns into a sea arch. The sea arch gets worn down, and the material is transported and taken away by the waves and the wind, and eventually turns into a sea stack. So this is just showing an interesting example of how water can create some unique features on our planet. Sea cave, sea arch, sea stack. So that is the sequence of those land formations. Kind of fun. Alrighty. There are other things that you can add in the blank space that you want, if you want. Last but not least, we have river velocity and deposition. Okay. So this diagram right here is showing river velocity and deposition. So if I asked you where is the river flowing the fastest, you would look for the steepest gradients. So between 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. Okay? Now, take a look at this carefully. This right here is a lake. This right here is the river going downhill to that lake. Here's my question to you. Where is the most deposition occurring on this diagram? Where is the most deposition occurring? Is it at location 1, location 2, location 3, or location 4? So you have to ask yourself, what's the process here? Where is water slowing down the most? Because where water is slowing down, you are going to get the most deposition. Where's water slowing down? Pause the video, think about it, talk it with a neighbor, and then come on back for the answer. All right, you came back for the answer. All right, if you said number 1, definitely not. Number 2, nope. If you said number 3, you're not right either. If you said number 4, you are correct. Why? Remember, what is that river flowing into? This relates back to our very first diagram up here. The river is flowing into a large body of water. It is slowing down. When it slows down, it drops off its sediment. Okay? Sedimentation and deposition occur where the water is moving the slowest. And it's going to be moving the slowest right here because it's going from a river into a big body of water, and it's basically slamming on the brakes. So this is where most deposition occurs, because the water is the slowest. Okay. You may go ahead and add anything else you want to that side. I'm going to walk you through wind, ice, and gravity real quick. And I know this video is getting very, very long. You can listen to it as fast as you want, or not at all. But here we go. All right. Here we go. Erosion and deposition by wind, ice, and gravity. Wind. We did the sand dune lab. I know you loved it. It was great. What you're going to see on the test is a picture just like this. Let me label this. You're like, what is that? This is a sand dune. In case you were wondering. All right, so this is a sand dune. Now, just like you saw in your virtual lab, it was in the little bar. It's kind of hard to see. Wind, you can always tell which way the wind is blowing when you look at a sand dune, because the gentle slope or gentle gradient of the sand dune is the direction from where the wind is coming from. The steeper part of the sand dune, called the slip face, I will not quiz you on that, but if you want to know the technical term, that is always the side that the wind, the opposite side of the wind that's coming from. So here we go. Wind is coming from the left and going to the right. How do we know? Because of the shape of the sand dune. Okay. A little bit of sand is constantly moving. You saw that in the lab. The wind is always changing our sand dunes, and a little bit of sand is going to roll over, slide down here, and just continue making that steeper slip face side. So sand dune, I might want to make a note to myself that this is a classic example of wind erosion and deposition. Okay, now remember, what can decrease erosion on sand dunes, or really anywhere? And if you said plants or vegetation, you are absolutely right. So you can make a note for yourself there if you would like. All right, 2 more diagrams, and then you guys can do whatever you want to this. But remember, bring it back for the test tomorrow. All right. Glaciers. Glaciers also do erosion and deposition. Okay. Deposition, they leave piles of sediment called moraine. Piles of sediment, which we also call glacial drift. And they also move sediment to different places. We get, we'll just put in glacial grooves. And they remove sediment from one place and then drop it off at another. All right, this right here, what I like about this is this shape right here. You can always tell in a landscape where glaciers have carved the land. You don't really see it here in Ohio, but if you go to a mountainous region that has glaciers, glaciers carve U-shaped valleys. That looks really weird to me tonight. Valleys. Yeah. No. Valleys. All right. Spelling problems. Alrighty. U-shaped valleys. Rivers, on the other hand, carve V-shaped valleys. So U-shaped glaciers, V-shaped rivers. All right. You can add whatever else you want for that. You will see questions about glaciers. And last but not least, guys, and most fresh in our mind, erosion due to gravity. So what do you want to say here? You can say whatever you want. Erosion due to gravity. It pulls sediment down, and gravity can cause landslides, mudslides, creep, slump, This is example of mass movement. So what I would do is I would add some vocabulary to those to this diagram to help you with that. Okay. I know that was really long. I'm really sorry, but I hope that was helpful. So go ahead and add anything else you want to this paper. You may use it on your test tomorrow. You're gonna do great. And use your Science Fusion to pull out any other information that you think is important and that you would like to add. Be comfortable with these diagrams, for sure. Be comfortable with these vocabulary words. And that is all I have for you. I hope that was helpful. Please email me if you guys have any questions, and I think the test is going to go great. Now, one more thing. Because I am giving you a review sheet, and I did part of it with you, you are only going to get one try on tomorrow's test. So, do your best. Do your best. And that's it. So, again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And when you are done with tomorrow's test, you will turn in this review sheet, to the teacher, please. And you will get a grade for it. So be awesome. You are awesome. And I will hopefully see you on Thursday. All right. Take care.